Many female leads. Many female leads. Many female leads. Say important things 3 times. Crossing the World SEED. Creator. UC. Gundam X. OO. And so on. The subsequent world and order are yet to be determined. As a glue guy, Xiao Ming accidentally traveled to the world of Gundam SEED. However, the first thing to do when opening the door for soulful travel is to do multiple choice questions. 1. Choose Fleur Arusta and become a woman directly. 2. Choose Thor Knigh and get the chance to resurrect in place. 3. Choose Kira Yamato to obtain the strongest adjuster bloodline. 4. Choose Aguilar to obtain the perfect adjuster bloodline, which is compatible with other bloodlines. From then on, we embarked on a journey across all the realms of the world. Chapter 1. Starting of Crossing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Ming vaguely opened his eyes, looked around at the dim environment, and glanced at his floating body. Is this dead ball? Has it become floating? And is this hell? But it's not very similar. Even if it's an underworld, it wouldn't be so desolate. It's really strange. And why are they all black and curvaceous everywhere? You can't see anything. Hello? Someone. Oh no, is there someone floating around? Shouted for a while. Looking at the pitch-black environment, even half a person, sigh, there shouldn't be even a half-floating ghost. Xiao Ming suddenly took a deep breath of air conditioning, offering global support. No, it should have contributed to the warming of this ghostly place. After half a day of exploration, discovering that the space where one is located is only a circular spherical space of about 1 kilometer. It's impossible to run out of the boundary. Even the various commonly used passwords for entering and exiting, including sesame door opening, were used without any response. Finally, I reluctantly accepted this fact and floated in this space, holding my head and lying down. Alas, this place is really small. There is no land yet, and I can't even think of planting a vegetable. There's no way, since it's all like this. Let's settle down now. Continuing to recall the last moment that appeared here, I was clearly assembling the steel plata model that I had snatched from a friend. Why did you just finish piecing together a head and suddenly cross it? It's so big and I'm waiting to install it myself. I'm dying, please inform me before crossing the border at least. That's it now. Ah. I'm not here anymore. It seems that those collections of Gangpura are likely to be destroyed by the bare children of relatives. The most regrettable thing is that my computer, phone, and portable hard drive haven't had a chance to clean them yet. Now my innocence is gone. Just as Xiao Ming was idle muttering to himself, drifting and rolling in the sky. Ding! The host's consciousness recovers vitality and meets the system startup requirements. System startup in progress. Activating. Property panel loading, 1%, 2%, 3%. 99%, 100% loading completed. The Super Prize multiple choice question system is starting to serve you. After a burst of feminine electronic sounds, Xiao Ming suddenly became excited and started dancing. What? System. It seems like I'm not dead ball, but I've crossed over. This immediately aroused Xiao Ming's enthusiasm, and he became excited and shouted loudly. Sleeping slot. That's great. The seniors are not deceiving me. Indeed, Time Crossing really knows systems, cheats, golden fingers, or panels, and we have to come up with one, otherwise Time Crossing will have a ball. After taking a deep breath and calming down my excitement, I asked the system, Sister, what functions do you have? Ding! This system is a super multiple choice question system with simple communication function, but all answers are preset. Aspiring to help the host solve various difficulties in choosing, so that the host can have a better experience of traveling through time. Existing features. Super Prize multiple choice questions, attribute panel, and world travel function, world travel function. Can I still travel? It seems like I'm flying up, woohoo. Reminder to the host that the current number of world travel tickets is 0 and cannot be crossed. Xiao Ming, who had been hit by the blow, let out a big howl towards the transparent box data panel in front of him. Ah! Sister Tongzi, don't do it. How could you treat me like this? Ding, it was found that the host's emotions have significant fluctuations. Here is a reminder to the host that this system has no life or gender. If necessary, it can be changed to male voice according to the host's requirements. Xiao Ming suddenly thought that if he had to keep listening to the voice of a big man picking his feet, it would be better to hang his own branches. Quickly shaking her head and negating, she said, Sister Tongzi, the current voice doesn't need to be changed. However, do you have a beginner gift package or something? Let's have one. There is no beginner gift package in this system. Everything the host needs will be obtained in the super prize multiple-choice questions. Hey, isn't it? The promised systems all come with beginner gift packages, don't do it. Tongzi sister, please give some compensation. This system does not have this feature. Does the host need to view the existing features of the system? Okay, let me take a look at the super prize multiple-choice questions and attribute panel. Ding, the system understands. Now open the super prize multiple choice question. Suddenly, a problem appeared on the transparent box data panel with 4 options. A, B, C, and D. Question. If you travel to other worlds, which of the following 4 identities would you choose? A. Choose identity. Fleur Arusta. Obtain the permanent possession of Fleur Arusta's body, accompanied by her complete memory and knowledge. And there are 9 chances of resurrection in place. B. Choose identity. Thor Knigh. Obtain the permanent possession of Thor Knigh's body, accompanied by his complete memory and knowledge. And there is 1 chance each of resurrection in place and 100% recovery of physical function. C. Choose identity. Kira Yamato. Obtain the body that permanently occupies Kira Yamato, possessing the strongest adjuster bloodline, along with his complete memory and knowledge. And have 2 chances of 100% recovery of physical function. D. Choose identity. Psi Aguilar. Gain permanent possession of Psi Aguilar's body, along with his complete memory and knowledge, and add the perfect adjuster bloodline. Perfectly compatible with any bloodline, currently with 0 to 1 remaining additions, can be upgraded based on N's years of learning experience. There is no need to be afraid when encountering multiple-choice questions. Choose the shortest option based on 3 lengths and 1 short option, and choose the longest option based on 3 short options. Choose A if you are of the same length and short, choose B if you are of the same length and short, and choose C if you are uneven. Well, okay, we're going further. Option A appears to be the shortest, but it actually means choosing to become that selfish and selfish silly girl. Do you want me to sleep with Kira? There are only 9 chances of resurrection in place, just trying to seduce me into being a woman. Think beautiful, dream it. Don't think anything about being a woman. Impossible. Even if I were to die, I wouldn't choose A as the woman. To do it, there must be at least infinite opportunities for resurrection. And looking at options B, C, and D, if you're not foolish, you know that you're definitely going to the world of Gundam SEED. Oh yeah. So I'll go drive really high. 1, Steel Plata of 1, I'm here. Even if it's a miscellaneous aircraft, it's okay. Let me get through it first. After being excited for a few seconds, Xiao Ming still calmed down. When it comes to self-reflection, no matter which world you travel to, the first point is to remain calm. Before you have enough strength, you must not waver. Be sure to keep a low profile. A high-profile act of aimlessness and brainless giving away one's head is a foolish and brainless act. Especially in the technological world of surveillance. Before having the strength, it's best to be able to persevere. Oh no, it should be said that one is being cautious and courageous. After all, that's not like the world of cultivation. The colonial satellites are filled with surveillance facilities everywhere, and personal privacy is extremely rare. If it gets a little louder, the soldiers who start maneuvering will come to check the water meter. Even if it's just a civilization world close to the solar system, it must be able to survive freely in the cosmic environment with its physical body, and be able to withstand nuclear weapons without death or injury. Or perhaps it could simply become a nuclear-grade weapon, so that one can freely go into the waves. Of course, if you want to go to the waves, at least you need a Gundam. And at least we need to build a high-performance, powerful, and highly defensive Gundam. Sitting on such a Gundam, at least when driving it for battle, one can do whatever they want. After all, in the world of Gundam, Gundam is the true protagonist. Alas, the only regret is that we cannot choose our own entity. However, on the other hand, why choose the essence? A product with no money, no status, and no relationship in a different world. They either went to Tibet or were dragged to the patrol room to eat pork chops. If the reward is not awesome, even if you have given yourself several resurrection opportunities, it will be the same. Unless the reward behind is awesome, it will be a free gift. Let's talk about the body shape before crossing, with a height of 1.75 meters and a non-standard weight of 81 kilograms. A pack of abdominal muscles, paired with a body that has suffered multiple injuries. Thinking about it makes me feel tired. Moreover, it is simply impossible for this type of body to achieve high performance. After all, in terms of the knowledge content of driving, I may not be as much as that kid Xiao Ming. The beginning of a high-tech world is impossible without memory and basic knowledge. Even if they can get on the body, they may not even be able to get out of Geniku. Even if it goes out. If I accidentally press 2887, I might have ascended to heaven in place. The most crucial thing is the physical condition of ordinary people, with a slightly higher driving force. You can kill yourself without exceeding 6g of acceleration gravity. Sent it. Besides, since it is permanently occupied, it belongs entirely to one's own body. At most, it should be reincarnation for a while, so it won't be too difficult to cope with oneself. Isn't it just a body? If there is a chance in the future, it will be better. Chapter 2. Data Panel. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As for option B, there is no need to choose the short-lived ghost, Thor Knigh. Although he started off with his girlfriend as a gift, her appearance and personality were pretty good. But choosing it is also a free gift. Ordinary human body is not very useful. And resurrection in place has a ghost effect. Is it still within the explosion range of the small plane? Will resurrection continue to die? After death, my girlfriend was still robbed by the guy named Diego Elsman, which is not interesting. The most crucial thing is that there is already a super loser named Thor as the protagonist, afraid that choosing the same one will kill him. As for why I know, ask the author who wrote Thor as the protagonist. However, option C, it's really tempting. Kira was originally the strongest adjuster in terms of body, but later there were explosive abilities to improve driving skills. In SEED Destiny, you still awaken your spatial sensing ability, which is a necessary skill for firing floating cannons. And there is also a Tauran physique. By following the plot once, you can attract at least 2 girls. Especially, Lakis Klein, that's my wife. Of course, if it were the Mia Campbell version of Lakis Klein, it would be a big one, it would really be even better. Don't mention other wives to me. As a qualified otaku, the number of wives will always increase without decreasing. And only children make choices. As adults, of course, you have to choose everything. Unfortunately, I can't perform well in crying. I'm afraid I might ruin my performance. If we lose our wife and then lose our troops, it won't be good. However, based on experience, option D is always the longest option. And it can also be perfectly compatible with other bloodlines, and the key is to upgrade. Are you clearly tempting me to choose this one? Since that's the case, even if you're a green hat man, I can make him shine brightly. As long as you abandon, Fleur Arusta, in advance, you will definitely not be able to reach me. And I have inherited the fine traditions of Mr. Chao's Jianan style and Wei Wu's legacy. When Thor takes a small plane to send it, his girlfriend Mirayeria, it's not that we can't just consider it. Besides, whether one is strong or not is a matter of one version, and whether one is handsome or not is a matter of a lifetime. Based on the performance of the animation. Sai Aguilar is highly likely, perhaps, should, possibly, and definitely more handsome than Kira Yamato. Otherwise, Fleur, who initially turned a blind eye to Kira, wouldn't have accepted his confession and pursuit, would she? It can be imagined that Kira is not handsome, at least not like Sai, who made Fleur fall for a flower obsession. After all, wherever you go, it's a world of faces. Of course, among the readers present, you are the most handsome. So after a fierce internal struggle, Xiao Ming decisively pressed option D. Ding, selection completed. Currently selecting option D, the reward has been distributed. Okay. Before Xiao Ming could say the word "duh," he suddenly appeared in a modern room with a bright and dark light. Then suddenly, like a tide, a large amount of memory flowed into the brain, after feeling the swelling in his brain, Xiao Ming moved his hands and feet. Is this considered a perfect inheritance of Sai Aguilar's knowledge and memory? But isn't this his body? Why does my brain still swell when I acquire memories? Ding, although the host perfectly matches the current body, the host's thinking is still primarily based on the host's ontology. In order not to affect the host's personality, consciousness, knowledge and memory are only released after replacing the body. All right, you have the final say, I understand. However, not to mention, Sai's memory also includes knowledge related to organic programming. After all, the research and development activities he participated in were actually mobile soldier experiments under the guise of power armor. It's just that the original body is not the adjuster, so it's not possible to open the Mobile Suit Assistant operating system OS specifically developed for the adjuster. But don't worry now. Not only did you replace him, but you also have the bloodline of an adjuster. It will depend on who turns green. Host, do you want to view the property panel? If not needed, the data panel will temporarily close automatically. If needed, please call out the property panel in your mind. Without even thinking, Xiao Ming tried to say in his mind, check. Then, new content appeared on the transparent box data panel. Host. Xiao Ming, current body. Sai Aguilar, property panel. Physical attributes. Physical strength. 8 mental intensity. 26 bloodline. Perfect adjuster, empty, 1/2, skill. None, the attribute limit for ordinary people is 5, and the adjuster limit is 10. Pilot attributes. Awakening value. 1 spirit. 260/260 shooting. 18 fighting. 5 reaction. 7 defense. 1 hit. 9 avoidance. For spiritual instructions. None, MS/MA driving level. F+ level. The driving level corresponds to the body level in order to fully utilize the body's performance. For example, if the driving level is 1 level lower, the performance will be reduced by 20%. On the contrary, if it is 2 levels higher, it will improve performance by 40%. However, if the level is too high compared to the body, prolonged performance will excessively consume the durability of the body. Pilot attributes. F0.9, E10.39, D40.99, C100.199, B200.299, A300.399, S300.499, SS500.699, SSS700.1000, require that each value meets the standard in order to meet the current driving level. Host space. The current size is a spherical space with a diameter of 1,000 meters. Buildings such as Naku, warehouse, and pilot rest can be freely set up inside. Current quantity and usage of Naku. Small size, 30 meters in length, width, and height. 0 medium size, 180 meters in length, width, and height. 0 large scale, with a length, width, and height of 750 meters. 0. Number of item warehouses, 3 meters in length, width, and height, can be freely stacked and combined. 0. Pilot lounge, each lounge can be assembled. Main lounge, with a length, width, and height of 10 meters, and the internal layout can be freely set. 0 sub-lounge, length, width, height 6 by 6 by 3 meters. 0. Is the pitch black space where I used to be located my host space? Are there any Naku quantities that are all 0? Is the item warehouse also 0? Surprisingly, there is a distinction between the main and co-pilot lounges. The system, which means that in future multiple-choice question rewards, there will also be rewards such as Naku, storage space, and living space. And can you freely mix and match like building blocks in your own host space? Yes, the host has not yet enabled these features. If you want to enable these features, please choose the answer options carefully in the future. Okay, I understand, Sister Tongzi. Faced with an emotionless system, Xiao Ming doesn't care whether there are any conspiracy theories or not. I have a rare opportunity to go to the world I want to go to, even if there is some concealment or conspiracy, it is worth it. After all, being a person requires contentment. Because even if there were, my life would have been wonderful and brilliant by then, and I wouldn't have suffered any losses. Even if it were to be taken away by the system that day, anyway, this body is not my own, just give it directly. If it's a big deal, just act coquettish and cute again, and let Tong Zijia or Tong Zij give themselves a chance to reincarnate in a safe world in the future. Of course, it would be best if one could reincarnate in the Kingdom of Light. Even if it's just being a mediocre blue clan, after all, even if the concave man is over 6,000 years old, he's still just a child. Of course, I am not picky about food and my requirements are not high. Even if it's to reincarnate in a world that's not going well, as long as you keep my memory and leave a skilled attribute panel, you can hide in a storage space for survival. Just add some superpowers for daily life, energy collection, healing, defense, and life preservation. A system elf who passed by and almost seized the opportunity to become possessed. What? With such good conditions. Then you can become the system, and I'll just become the host. After daydreaming for a while, Xiao Ming stopped his thoughts and continued to study the properties panel. It seems that it is not the strongest adjuster, so the physical strength is not at full capacity, but at least it exceeds the limit of ordinary people at 8 o'clock, which is also good. And the mental intensity has actually exceeded the limit. It seems that the travelers generally have excellent mental health, very good. But what kind of ghost is an awakening value of 1? Is it the necessary value for launching a floating cannon in the G century with SD as high as G? That's stable. After all, if the awakening value is 0, you can never use the floating cannon. However, as he looked at his pilot attributes, Xiao Ming covered his forehead and sighed helplessly, spiritual and spiritual commands. Is this an attribute of robot warfare? How could there be a sense of being a Stitch monster? But it's really my attribute. I will also showcase the advantages and disadvantages of my advanced action combat game skills over the years, including my lack of proficiency in combat, inability to pull shields, and poor dodge and evasion abilities. After reviewing the functions included in the system, Xiao Ming waved his hand and closed the data panel. Chapter 3. New Choices. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Of course, when it comes to the world of SEED, it is necessary to mention the adjuster. Some people in this world, in order for their next generation to be born with innate excellent abilities. So in the next generation, when it is still in the stage of fertilized embryos, genetic engineering has been carried out on it. Through this, new humans with higher intelligence, stronger physical functions, and better immunity were born, known as adjusters. The learning ability of adjusters is generally much higher than that of ordinary people. And their physique is relatively strong, and they have innate immunity to most diseases. But equally, due to these differences, so they are envied and rejected by those natural people, born from natural childbirth, that is, ordinary people who have not been genetically improved. Then Xiao Ming looked at the date and time displayed on his phone, CE. On January 16, 71, at 5:58 a.m., it was the first day of school in Heliopolis. CE, who is away from the official start of the plot January 25, 71, there are still 10 days left. Xiao Ming remembers that the formal war between natural persons and adjusters in this world began with CE starting from February 11, 1970. The Atlantic Federation, a natural human force belonging to the Earth Alliance, and the adjusting army ZAFT, due to initial economic friction, caused conflicts and opposition between the two major forces, the Earth Alliance and P.L.N.T. plant. Then, due to the instigation and promotion of the Blue Cosmic Alliance, also known as the Blue Cosmic Alliance, which disliked the adjuster, it gradually developed into a racial conflict between natural persons and the adjuster. However, human desire is like a rolling stone on a high mountain, once it begins to fall, it will never stop until it is shattered and bleeding. Next is CE. The Bloody Valentine's Day event on February 14, 1970. That is to say, the Earth Alliance is facing PL. The agricultural satellite, Unia 7, of A.N.T's colony launched a nuclear bomb and destroyed the colony's satellite. Brain twitching to block PL. The self-sufficiency of agricultural materials in ANT requires it to rely on the Earth's supply in order to survive. Unfortunately, even ZA. The wife of F.T military leader Patrick Serra, who was also the mother of the second male lead Aslan Serra, Renoya Serra, died in this attack. How could this life and death feud be easily resolved? So ZA. In retaliation against the Earth Alliance, F.T also threw a large number of neutron interference devices on the Earth's surface and outer space. That is to say, according to the basic principle of nuclear reaction, a device that suppresses nuclear fission by disabling the process of neutron bombardment of atoms during nuclear fission. Of course, it can also interfere with electromagnetic waves and radar communication. This has also resulted in all nuclear weapons and nuclear-powered weapons in the Earth's sphere, including nuclear power plants, being rendered useless, directly leading to the global energy crisis on Earth. By the way, it also occupied some areas on Earth, alleviating the crisis of shortage of living materials in the universe. In this series of conflict events, the conflict between the two sides has been further ignited, directly igniting the flames of war between the two major forces. Subsequently, due to PL.A.N.T's technology was superior, leading the development of the MS, Mobile Suit, gene, which defeated the Earth Alliance's MA, Mobile Fortress, Mabius, troop step by step. To popularize a little, there is a difference between MS and MA in Geodari. Mobile Suit, MS/Mobile Suit. It is a humanoid mecha that takes human form as its exterior, with joints connecting limbs to give it high mobility and versatility, and utilizes robotic arms to use weapons. Mobile Armor, MA/Mobile Fortress. It generally refers to standard space combat units, usually relatively inexpensive and versatile heavy fighter jets. The firepower of a regular MA is insufficient to shoot down an MS target in a 1.1 situation. Sometimes it requires 3, 5 to 1, or even more quantity to 1, which means using quantity to suppress the winning type. Of course, there are also large heavy firepower type MAs, which are single and even have powerful capabilities that surpass more than an MS. However, they are generally too expensive, so they cannot be mass-produced on a large scale in the Earth Alliance. The Atlantic Federation Army secretly joined forces with some opportunists of the Third Party Force (OB) and reached an agreement under unavoidable circumstances. We began secretly developing a more powerful mobile warrior, Gundam, in an attempt to defeat those ZA. The gene of the F.T Army. And the location of secret research and development. It's Aguilar, or Xiao Ming, now on the colonial satellite Heliopolis under his feet. And ZAFT spies inside the colony's satellite also received this news, so a Gundam grab battle came. That is to say, Heliopolis will be blown to pieces in about 10 days due to the usual Gundam snatch battle. Just as Xiao Ming was thinking about what to do next, the data panel of the Super Multiple Choice Questions system popped up again. Question. If facing Heliopolis, which is about to explode in 10 days, which of the following options would you choose? A. Choose to find an opportunity to leave Heliopolis now. Obtain a high-speed space lifeboat for 2 people, with sufficient supplies to reach Earth. B. Choose not to leave Heliopolis before the plot takes place. Obtain a permanent Junior Training Ground level dungeon challenge coupon. Can be used for repeated challenge training, with no limit on the number of uses. Training limit. D. Level pilot. After completing each difficulty level first, you will receive additional full pilot attribute improvement points. C. Choose the day before the start of the plot, and take a flight to leave with integrity. Obtain a flight ticket to the satellite of the OB colony. Tianzi Yuzu, worth 10 million in the common currency of the OB country. Here is a reminder that super prize winning multiple-choice questions are all multiple-choice questions. If the choice made does not match the actual action, the system reward will be revoked. Multiple choices are not allowed. If the selection does not match the actual situation, the reward will be revoked. There are no loopholes to transfer after checking, unfortunately. But is it still necessary to choose? Brother is a man who wants to drive Gundam, so it's obvious that staying behind has an advantage. Junior Training Ground level dungeon challenge coupon. At least you can touch the cockpit of the mobile warrior. Besides, there's no chance to travel, so let's start with a dungeon level to play. It's not bad either. If it weren't for the existence of a training attribute upper limit and the first pass, one could obtain a full pilot attribute improvement point. Then I can unleash an ACE, Ace Pilot, attribute before the plot starts. So Xiao Ming decisively pressed option B. Ding, selection completed. Currently selecting option B, the reward has been distributed. Looking at the beginner training level dungeon challenge coupon in hand, carefully read the introduction above. World. Mobile warriors up to 0079. Training level. Gundam stands tall on the ground. In fact, it is the content of the first episode of the 0079 anime, which is only 2, Zagu 2, and the first few difficulty levels must have been easily passed. Lusheng. The training ground levels have 6 levels of selectable difficulty. Beginner, Intermediate, Advanced, Difficult, Hell, and Nightmare. This training ground level dungeon challenge coupon corresponds to an increase in all pilot attributes for each difficulty level. Beginner +1, Intermediate +1, Advanced +2, Difficulty +3, Hell +5, Nightmare +8. If you pass the level only once, it will only add up to 20 points if you pass all of them. Driving skills can also be improved to the E. class, and even the most basic D. class body cannot be driven well, which is better than nothing. However, we still need to work hard, at least we need to level up to the full D. level to rest assured. Of course, we can only hope to increase the training attribute limit for the level dungeon challenge coupons we will receive in the future. However, every time a level is passed, no matter how long it takes in the dungeon, the outside world only consumes 1 minute. This is pretty good, there's absolutely no need to worry about not having enough time. Continuing to check the time, there are still 2 hours left to go to school. Xiao Ming made a resolute decision and decided to take a few steps first to improve his driving skills and satisfy himself. Of course, it's definitely not because of Monkey Rush, I just want to experience the feeling of driving a mobile warrior in advance. Well, that's right, that's it. Chapter 4. Training Levels. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After choosing to enter the beginner training ground, suddenly, there was a black and a light in front of him. Xiao Ming found himself sitting in the cockpit of the Gundam RX.78.2. Oh yeah. It's really a mobile warrior cockpit. Finally, I can sit for a while and truly reach the summit, that's great. Let me take a look first. Let's get tired of it. This time, some data of up to RX.78.2 was also displayed on the monitor. Xiao Ming then looked at the familiar colonial satellite background and the large elevator on the rock wall on the monitor. I looked curiously at everything inside the cockpit. Then I rubbed around and familiarized myself with the entire cockpit. When holding the joystick, a control prompt finally appeared on the display in front of me, yes/no. Activate the basic simulation training mode. Oh, not bad, this is quite user-friendly. Yes, start. Please follow the instructions on the display to operate. Then Xiao Ming immediately followed the operation prompts and began to move forward, jump back, run, fly, shoot, and so on, step by step. After completing a series of action requirements, the basic dungeon was successfully completed. Then, the 6 attributes of shooting, fighting, defense, reaction, hit, and evasion have all been increased by 1 point. Okay, take advantage of the heat and move on to the next level of difficulty. Go ahead. After entering the intermediate training ground dungeon level, Xiao Ming appeared again on the driver's seat of the Gundam RX.78. After fastening the seatbelt, I clicked the start button. And on the radar display, 2 images of the Zagu 2 appeared instantly. Then they also appeared on the main display, holding machine guns and slowly walking towards Xiao Ming's Gundam. And as they approached a certain distance, they held up their machine guns and started shooting. Although the armor, Moon God titanium alloy, of the RX.78 is hard enough, the bullets from the machine guns bounce off the surface of the aircraft, but there is still a certain sense of vibration inside the cockpit. Sigh, it's truly Gundam. Its defense is really good. It's been hit like a vibrating motor, but it hasn't been broken yet. Surprisingly, the battle has already begun. Then I'll first test the water with the head fire cannon, and then play with the beam rifle and beam saber in the constantly vibrating cockpit. Xiao Ming patiently adjusted his attack angle, aimed the Gundam's head cannon at the closest, Zagu 2, and then pressed the attack button on the control stick. After the fire god cannons on both sides of the head started shooting, 2 tongues of fire immediately splashed away. However, Xiao Ming's aiming accuracy was not adjusted properly, and the shell still passed by Zagu 2. It seems that my hit attribute is still too low. Xiao Ming licked his lips while focusing on adjusting the direction and angle of his attack using a scope as he had previously trained. And the 2 opposing planes, Zagu 2, also slowly ran up and continued to dodge the attack of the fire god cannon. However, after adapting for a while, Xiao Ming still hit the opposite, Zagu 2. And after being hit by the fire god, the armor on the opposite side of the fuselage suddenly became potholes, even the fuselage was thrown upside down. After a while of continuous attack, Xiao Ming muttered to himself with a satisfied expression, "Alright, the fire god cannon has passed the test. Then please help me try the beam rifle." Then, under a manipulation, Gundam picked up the beam rifle from his waist. After learning about the previous experience, holding up the beam rifle and aiming for a while, the first shot had no air force and directly hit the running Zagu 2. Although there is a deviation of billions of points from the aiming cockpit. But fortunately, the beam of light melted and penetrated its shoulder, knocking down the shoulder shield. Unfortunately, it's just a little short. Come back. Xiao Ming did not give up at all. After manually adjusting the aiming position, he fired 3 shots in a row and finally hit the center of the cockpit of Xiaogu 2. Sigh, manual aiming is really too troublesome. It seems that I need to supplement the OS settings of the Mobile Suit Assistant operating system when I have time. I must find a suitable automatic or semi-automatic aiming system for myself. After destroying the broken hand Xiaogu 2, Xiao Ming put away his beam rifle again, pulled out his beam sword from behind, and charged towards the newly climbed Xiaogu 2. After a burst of sword light and shadows, the Xiaogu 2 was cut into a Xiaogu stick. The final blow, like Amro Ray, pierced through the location of the Minovsky Ultra small nuclear fusion reactor below its cockpit. Up to RX 78, Xiao Sei Aguilar Ming, target destruction, mission completed. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately turned off the energy supply of the beam saber. Continuing to manipulate Gundam, he immediately turned around and pressed the accelerator pedal to the bottom, quickly leaving the explosion range of Xiaogu 2. With an excited expression on his face, he turned his back to the explosion and said, "A real man never looks back at the explosion." Oh, yeah, that's so cool. After the explosion, the display once again showed a victory clearance prompt. Then, the 6 attributes of the pilot on the data panel, including shooting, fighting, defense, reaction, hit, and evasion, have all been increased by 1 point. And the associated combat, shooting, and hitting have added an extra bit. The pilot attribute has been temporarily increased to Awakening 3, Shooting 21, Fighting 8, Reaction 9, Defense 3, Hit 12. Moreover, the shooting attribute has been automatically improved by 1 point through just 2 training sessions. After attribute enhancement, Xiao Ming also had an indescribable refreshing feeling, and suddenly felt that I was very good, and then he opened the advanced training ground again. This time, the opponent only added 1, Xiaogu 2, and the enemy became 3 mechs. Xiao Sei Aguilar Ming, Gundam Strike Ma Si. Just when Xiao Ming still didn't take it seriously, the 3 Xiaogu 2 planes on the opposite side suddenly gained momentum, holding an electric axe and a mobile phone to turn off their guns, and launched a triangular attack. And just as he pulled out his beam rifle, he was destroyed by the Xiaogu 2 on the opposite side with a machine gun, causing a violent explosion. It seems that I underestimated the advanced difficulty level. Accompanied by the intense vibration inside the cockpit, Xiao Ming muttered to himself with a face full of tears and laughter. However, I won't give up. Xiao Ming also manipulated Gouda to run and lifted the shield of his left hand, taking advantage of the situation. While defending, he quickly pulled out the beam saber from behind. Now it's my turn to counterattack. Gundam RX.78, holding the shield in front of his chest, he charged towards the opposite side while using his head cannon to contain the attack. After approaching the target, he immediately used a beam of military knives to perform a king's sword technique and started chopping randomly. Although the opposite side also raised an electric axe to counterattack, they faced a chaotic attack. Not only did he chop off the Xiaogu head on the opposite side, but he also hacked through the cockpit position and exploded the driver on the opposite side. Write a few body data together, not separately. Introduction to the body up to RX.78.2, usually illustrated in the comments section here. If not, remind me to add more pictures. Body level. C.level, the body level is similar to the pilot level, for example, below E.level, it is a non-mainstream industrial Mississippi. Fixed armament. Head artillery X2, beam army knife X2, optional weapon. Beam rifle X1, super rocket launcher X1, fighting meteor hammer X1, Gundam super hammer X1, special shield X1, power system. Minovsky small nuclear fusion furnace, armor. Moon god titanium alloy, special device. Core Fighter System. Steel Cannon Body Level. D-Level Fixed Armament. Head Artillery X2, Shoulder 240mm Cannon X2, Specialized Beam Rifle, Power System. Min-Of. Steel Tank Body Level. E+ Fixed Armament. Shoulder Low Recoil Gunpowder Cannon X2, Wrist 4. Pack Grenade Launcher X2. Xiao 2 Body Level. D-Level Fixed Armament. Shoulder Shield X1, Drum-Fed Machine Gun X1, Thermal Axe X1, Optional Weapons. Foot-Mounted Missile Pod X2, Arm Machine Gun X1, Gatling Gun Shield X1, MMP.80 Machine Gun, including Grenade Launcher, Xiao Rocket Launcher, XT 2.2 Beam Cannon, MIP.B6 Fragmentation Grenade x4, Iron Fist Rocket Launcher X1, Folding Axe X1, Sea Snake X1 Power System. Minovsky Ultra Small Nuclear Fusion Reactor. Chapter 5. Glasses Computer. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Just as the other two planes of the opponent, Xiao 2, also rushed over to carry out the encirclement. Xiao Ming could only tightly grasp the control lever and heavily pressed the high-speed lift pedal next to the accelerator pedal, exerting his ultimate flying skill. Gundam also flew straight and quickly into the sky with the full force of the thruster. If you want to surround me, dream about it. Continuing to fly high, while changing the direction of the fuselage, he launched an attack on one of the Xiao 2 with his head-mounted cannon. Look at the move, eat my beam. Project Saber. While defending in place, Xiao Ming fiercely imitated a fool and projected the beam of military knives towards the opposite side with force. Although it was slightly off-center, it still steadily inserted into the right leg. However, this also made Xiao Ming's eyes twitch. Damn hit rate. I was aiming for the head, why did I fall on my calves? Damn it. After losing a beam saber, Xiao Ming could only switch his shield to his right hand and use his left hand to pull out another beam saber from behind. Rushed toward Xiao 2, who had been stabbed in the leg. A flash of sword light and shadow flashed by. The Xiao 2 suddenly lost its limbs and its body fell heavily to the ground. Woo-hoo. Part 2, my advantage lies. Victory is right in front of me. Dee dee. Just as Xiao Ming was still feeling proud to take down two Xiao 2 planes. The sudden and urgent alarm sound from the cockpit made Xiao Ming's face turn black again. Because the last electric axe from Xiao 2 struck heavily on the thruster backpack behind Gundam, and even damaged the fuel injection port. A large amount of fuel sprayed out from the crack and caught fire. Crouching groove. You're going to lose Jingzhou carelessly. After finishing the ball, I didn't expect to be broken by an electric axe. The fuel-type thruster is just a little troublesome. However, in order to pass smoothly, Xiao Ming had no choice but to grit his teeth and hold the beam of military knife in the opposite direction. At the cost of cracking his own waist, he also used a move called the Heaven and Earth Longevity Sword technique to pierce through the cockpit of Xiao 2. Gundam, accompanied by a raging fire throughout his body, he achieved the ultimate victory. At the same time as the display screen of the victory passage was displayed, Xiao Ming's pilot status was comprehensively improved. Continuing to strike while the iron was still hot, he chose the difficult mode and began a new challenge. 1. Gundam RX.78, single against 6, Xiao 2. However, it didn't go as smoothly this time. After trying more than 10 times, we finally got through the level. After all, Gundam's armor is not invincible either. As long as it is chopped with a few axes by an electric axe, it can still break through defense. Moreover, the opposite side not only has a numerical advantage, but also has learned to cover each other, intercept, restrain shooting, and so on. Even their reaction speed has improved compared to before. Fortunately, in addition to a 3-point overall attribute improvement, during my own training process, I also improved a lot of attributes, directly elevating my driving level to the peak of E. level. But in Hell mode, it's really hard for 3-1 to defeat a hero. E. class driving technology, to deal with 6, Zagu 2, planes at the same time, plus a red-angled triple speed, Xiao special Zagu 2. Under the terrifying influence of Xiao Fei's kick, Xiao Ming felt as if he could hear the mockery of, "You're still too young," as soon as he saw the red figure of Zagu 2. The armor of the key, Gundam, is particularly hard, even if it kicks many feet, it will not break. I have to roll along in the cockpit many times. Finally, he was surrounded and beaten to death by a group of Zagu 2, or even his shield was chopped to pieces. Moreover, Xiao Zagu 2 is particularly skilled in emergency evasion and shield defense, and the most despicable thing is that under normal circumstances, it cannot be hit at all. However, the Emperor did not disappoint those who had intentions. After dozens of attempts and raising the driving level to D. level, he reluctantly passed the Hell difficulty with good luck. Although various pilot attributes have once again received significant additional improvements. However, in addition to the pilot attribute improvement through clearance, which increased by 12 points, the awakening value did not increase at all after training for half a day. Apart from feeling a bit more sensitive and having a stronger explosive force, it has not reached the level of awakening spatial induction at all. I feel like there may still be a long way to go before I can use a floating cannon. As for the difficulty of nightmares, it is, if you are a man, you will have to play Zagu. The level directly turned into driving by oneself, Zagu 2. We need to simultaneously fight against 3 mechas, namely Gundam, and Gundam, in the 0079 ace combination of near, medium, and far. However, accustomed to touching Gouda, Xiao Ming immediately showed a bitter melon face of grievance when he sat on the cold bench of Zagu 2. Sleeping slot, the body is so heavy. This Zagu 2 operation is too slow, its maneuverability cannot be compared to Gundam at all. To defeat Gundam with this thing, isn't it difficult for me, Fat Tiger? However, in order to improve the pilot's attribute points, Xiao Ming could only grit his teeth and face the challenge. Although I still have 2 teammates this time, but they are all goods that deliver people's heads as soon as they come up. This directly leads to a 1-on-3 disadvantageous situation as soon as he enters the field. Faced with the terrifying performance of the RX.78.2, as well as the long-range firepower of the steel cannon and steel tank. The most infuriating thing is that the driver AI of the RX.78.2 is definitely the experienced Great Amro. It's too difficult to deal with. Let me use Zagu's rotten axe and Xiaomi machine gun to win. I can't do it, my concubine. It's simply an impossible thing. After trying once, Xiao Ming immediately gave up the challenge and withdrew from the training. No more fighting, no more fighting. We can't fight like this anymore, otherwise our mentality will collapse. Xiao Ming lay on the bed with a look of excruciating pain, helplessly looking at the display on the data panel, which showed that there were already over 80 training-level battles in time. Sigh, it's almost 7:30 in the morning. Let's go to school first. When we come back from school, let's first elevate the pilot's level to the peak of level D, and then try that nightmare difficulty. Well, that's right, that's it. Faced with the excuse of self-deception, Xiao Ming still closed his eyes with satisfaction. However, at this moment, another problem suddenly emerged. Sai E is nearsighted and has been wearing brown nearsighted glasses throughout the entire drama. But because I have integrated into the bloodline of a perfect adjuster, my myopia has disappeared completely. I feel like I need to buy some contact lenses as an excuse not to wear them. The multiple choice question data panel pops up again. Question. If you were to conceal the issue of vision recovery, which of the following options would you choose? A. Choose to go out without glasses. Obtain a pair of flat light contact lens lenses. This non-degree contact lens has the characteristics of automatic cleaning, automatic repair, and not damaging the eyes. B. Choose to wear glasses when going out. Get a pair of glasses and a computer. The glasses computer has the same appearance as the current brown glasses and is versatile and widely used. It is a microcomputer with a large internal storage capacity. Capable of powerful cracking operations, identity recognition function, the image displayed by the lens has anti-peeping function, the function of automatic charging can be achieved by absorbing weak external light and heat through induction. Xiao Ming chose B without even thinking about it. After all, A is peaceful and light and B is so long, of course it's the fragrance of a glasses-shaped microcomputer. Ding, selection completed. Currently selecting option B, the reward has been distributed. Then a pair of brown flat sunglasses appeared on my hand, and a prop item was added to the attribute panel. Xiao Ming didn't bother too much and just brought it along and started trying it out. After trying a few times, I found that apart from the angle of wearing glasses, I couldn't see the image on the lenses when I moved a little in other directions. You can definitely use it with peace of mind in daily life, without fear of being discovered by others. And during use, it didn't take long for this microcomputer to crack the computer startup password left by Sai. After searching for some of the learning materials and important content that were retained above, they were all downloaded to this glasses microcomputer with a large storage memory. Chapter 6. Fleur Arusta. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After trying for a while and feeling satisfied, Xiao Ming dressed neatly and went to school. Hello, Sai, have you finished the winter homework assigned by the teacher? Can I have a look? Just as I walked into the classroom, the first veteran on board the Archangel, Kazbaskak, walked over with a sly expression. At this moment, Xiao Ming recalled that fortunately Sai had finished all the homework ahead of schedule, otherwise he would have joined the ranks of cats copying homework. Xiao Ming boldly took out his homework from his backpack and handed it to him. Kaz, at least you should do your homework yourself. You keep copying me. What should you do for your future exams? Anyway, we're helping Professor Kato's side. The credits are already sufficient, so don't worry. For Xiao Ming's question, cats looked like a dead pig not afraid of boiling water. Not long after, Thor also walked into the classroom and looked at Kaz, who was working hard. He smiled and said, Kaz, you copied Sai's homework as soon as school started. Be careful not to fail your grades at the end of the semester. You have to take care of it, you're not the same. We all rely on Maria. If it weren't for her, I think your current situation would be similar to mine. Katz was busy copying without even looking up. Miliaria nodded helplessly and agreed, indeed, Thor, you should also study hard. Don't let me have to help you with your homework every time before an exam. Yeah, I also feel like Miliali Asia Pacific is spoiling you, and I feel like I'm going to give you up. Well, when you say that, it really feels a bit like this. Miliaria strongly agreed with Xiao Ming's statement and looked at Thor with a serious expression, saying, Sai is right. You also need to study hard for me, otherwise I won't give you tutoring. Sai. Don't, my dear Miliaria, if you don't help me, who else can help me? With Thor's howls, Kira also walked into the classroom, and Xiao Ming and Thor looked at him. Kira, my future studies may depend on you. Kira looked at Thor helplessly, then at Miliaria's eyes, and said with a guilty expression, Thor, don't come to me either. I'm also very busy. Usually, I have to go to Professor Kato's place to help with programming in the afternoon, so I don't have time at all. Ah, how could that be so? While everyone was laughing and joking with each other, Xiao Ming felt like he was being hasty. In the anime, there are all plain faces, and there is not much difference to see. But in reality, how much difference does Kira have without competition? His messy hairstyle and gloomy personality, from dirt to debris, affected his overall appearance and senses. Unfortunately, all the choices have already been made. I have no choice but to choose one path and walk until it gets dark. After a few people joking and frolicking for a while, the morning class began. At noon, Professor Kato arrived in the class and asked Xiao Ming, Kaz, and Kira to help develop the control system for the power armor. I am a man who wants to drive Gundam, and there will be war in 9 days. There's not even time for the liver dungeon, so I don't have time to help with any programming now. Before Xiao Ming could show his unwillingness and prepare to refuse, the multiple-choice question data panel popped out with a ding sound. At this moment, Xiao Ming realized that everything around him had come to a standstill, and everyone stood motionless like statues. And although I can move, my feet cannot leave my position at all. Previously, we had to choose problems when we were alone, without any reference points, so we completely ignored this phenomenon. I haven't taken any steps, so I haven't noticed this problem. After discovering this situation, Xiao Ming immediately asked the system, Sister Tongzi, when I made my choice, the outside world was completely at a standstill. Is this the ability of time to stop? It's not that time stops. This is because the system will enter a brief time acceleration function after launching the Superprise multiple-choice question panel for the convenience of the host to think and choose answers. Increase the time flow velocity of the host's own small space by tens of thousands of times, forming a relative time stationary state with the external space. Similarly, in order to protect the host's safety, it is not possible to leave or touch any area outside the time acceleration range. Understood. It turns out that's the case. You can't move, that is, you can't stop this time and use it for other purposes than choosing. Okay, although it's a bit regrettable, at least it's good to think with peace of mind. Once understood. There was a moment of silence. AVI or something, it's impossible after all of this. Xiao Ming felt a bit disappointed and touched his nose, only able to inherit and check the rewards for a few options. Question. If Professor Kato came to ask for your help, which of the following options would you choose? A. Choose to refuse directly and not help. Obtain a set of power armor under development, accompanied by a complete control system. B. Choose to complain, but still go over and help. Obtain lightweight impact-resistant and pressure-resistant driving suits that can be used directly in the cosmic environment. Can provide the necessary oxygen for 120 hours of survival and withstand kinetic energy shocks below 8,000 joules for defense. C. Choose a seemingly positive attitude to help. Obtain an item warehouse with a space size of 3 by 3 by 3 meters. It can be freely stacked with each other and can be freely combined with other buildings such as the pilot's lounge. Xiao Ming recalled the bulky power armor in the laboratory, which was nothing but useless. Even with a complete new control system, it was still useless. Although this driving suit is very fragrant, it can defend against thermal weapons below 8,000 joules. That is to say, it goes through it. At long distances, sniper rifles with a caliber of 9 mm or less no longer need to worry, let alone ordinary submachine guns. And it's still kinetic energy impact, which means that if you fall from a height and don't reach this 8,000 joules, you won't suffer any damage. Even the g-force generated during acceleration or rapid steering of the driver's body can be reduced. But unfortunately, you came too early and there's no place to put it. You can't fall out in front of everyone. If I come earlier or come back home later, I will definitely take it. It's a pity you didn't treat me. So I decisively chose option C. Let's start with a 27 cubic meter warehouse or storage space. Fragrance. How fragrant. After all, in that case, there is no need to worry about being discovered by someone in the future and missing out on such excellent driving uniforms. And not only can they stack and combine with each other, but even the pilot's lounge can stack and combine. You can start the first step of assembling your own host space, so the storage space is still the most fragrant. Ding, selection completed. Currently selecting option C, the reward has been distributed. Then Xiao Ming, with a happy and positive expression on his face, followed Professor Kato to the laboratory. Along the way, he put his hands in his pockets and kept trying to take his phone and keys to the storage room to play with. However, the collected items are placed on the ground of the item warehouse, and if you want to categorize them, you also need to bring your own shelves. As for those who want to store water or liquids, they also need to bring their own water storage containers. I can't divide according to my own wishes, it's really not advanced at all, it's just an ordinary small warehouse. Unfortunately, if each item could be stored separately, adding some corrosive liquid would be a great weapon. After school. As soon as I arrived at the school gate, I saw Fleur Arusta already waiting there. Sigh. You finally finished class, let's go home together. I'm Tefuk. What's going on? What situation? Fleur walked over with an intimate expression on her face and took the initiative to hold on to Xiao Ming's arm. This suddenly made Xiao Ming feel a bit confused. In the animation, shouldn't Sai have confessed to Fleur a few days before the plot started? Why are you hooked up now? Speaking of which, there are still 9.5 days left until the start of the plot, and it seems that there are indeed quite a few days left. But it feels like there is more than just an ordinary romantic relationship between the two, but rather a marriage alliance between the Aguilar families of Ob and the Alusta families of the Atlantic Federation. There must be some tricks involved, even involving some interests. Most of the time, they secretly create things for Gundam, and there are also many people from these two families involved. It seems inconvenient to say no to her at the moment, at least until the plot begins. There is no way to say goodbye to her. However, looking at the intimate appearance between Fleur and herself, I felt her chest while recalling memories about her. I feel that although she is very harsh towards others, her attitude towards Sai, it seems pretty good, even very good. Although she may be a bit childish, she is the more proactive side when interacting with others, it's also her. I really don't know how to refuse her when I think about it. Perhaps it was a problem with the viewing angle before, and she initially stood in a relationship opposite to the protagonist, so it felt a bit annoying. However, this is also human nature. On the other hand, if it weren't for the Virgin Mary, who would be so caring and considerate towards an unfamiliar outsider? If you really care and show consideration to unfamiliar outsiders casually, then that's the problem. And this is the most unwanted Virgin Mary. In general, for the sake of one's own safety, it is advisable to sell teammates first. A dead friend never dies in poverty. And according to the rule of killing Our Lady of Innocence first in team battles. Perhaps not killing Kira in the later stage is the priority to be killed. Chapter 7. Driving Level D. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just when Xiao Ming was in a dilemma. With a ding sound, select the data panel and it will pop up again. Question. If Kira were looking at you and Fleur right now, which of the following options would you choose? A. Choose to be in front of Kira, kiss Fleur Arusta and express love for her. Obtain one small Naku space, which can be bound to 0/1 units. After binding, the unit will have 0/3 additional component slots. A space of 30 by 30 by 30 meters in length, width, and height can only be used to bind and store one MS or MA type aircraft that does not exceed this space size. After binding the body, add 3 body plug-in slots that can be inserted into the system's produced body prop components. The plug-in slots will automatically be removed from the body after unbinding. And the Naku can produce props for binding the body and system, perform automatic maintenance, supply, replacement, and simple modifications. Only items from the system and accessories related to mobile warriors can be stored, and can be freely combined and connected with buildings such as item warehouse space and pilot lounge space. B. Choose to avoid misunderstandings with your friend Kira Yamato and harshly reprimand her, saying, "Mind your own business." Then propose to break up. Obtain the "I am a straight man" aura, which, when activated, can help the host avoid the confusion of being harassed by various types of women. C. Choose as if you haven't seen it and leave with Fleur Arusta. Obtaining the halo of "My presence is too low," can make others actively ignore my presence. I'll go. The Naku space for option A's body has finally arrived. Is that still far from having mobile warriors? This is today's second spatial reward. It's really a double celebration and a great start. Too lucky. In the future, my mother no longer needs to worry because there is no place to repair the damaged glasses and computer. And it also comes with a plug-in slot, which means it can be equipped with props like in a robot battle. Not bad, but is Kira already behind me? It seems that the system is not solely based on the problems and confusions I face when choosing. Well, it's exactly what I want. Even if I get NTR from Kira in the future, that's all I have left. Of course, not being NTR is the best option. But it's a bit exciting. After so many years of my mother and fetus solo, are they finally going to give up their first kiss in 2 lifetimes? Unfortunately, only one Naku can be bound. If you want to replace binding another mobile warrior, you need to unbind it first. But it's a pity that we can't put anything else unrelated to the system and mobile warriors yet. Without a body and accessories now, it is equivalent to being useless. But what the hell are the options for B and C? These 2 halos are too cramped, right? As a traveler, I wouldn't even use it if I were killed. Moreover, at least Fry is also her own girlfriend. Why should she act based on someone else's face? Even Kira can't. Xiao Ming decisively chose option A. Ding, selection completed. Currently selecting option A, the reward has been distributed. Flay, you're so cute, I love you. With a shy expression on his face, Xiao Ming gently pressed A on Flay's lips. Bar. Soft. Very soft. Very soft. It's really super soft. And it also has a faint cherry sweetness. Xiao Ming is certain that she must have applied cherry-flavored lip gloss. Faced with Xiao Ming's sudden attack, Flay blushed in Xiao Ming's arms and whispered in a somewhat embarrassed voice, "Sigh, I hate it. It really makes me feel so embarrassed to do this in front of so many people. Well, let's wait until we get home, let's do this kind of thing again." Looking at her shy and twisted expression, Solo Xiao Ming, a 2-time mother and fetus, looked up at the artificial sunset on the colonial satellite. Excited, he replied, I'll take you home." However, Kira stood there dumbfounded, watching the intimate kiss between Xiao Ming and Flay. The original smile on his face froze, and his heart seemed to be gripped by something. I haven't recovered from the scene for a long time. Finally, holding on to the backpack strap with his left hand, he tightly pressed it against his heart and silently watched as Flay pulled Xiao Ming away. On the other side, after arriving at the entrance of Flay's apartment, Flay asked shyly in a low voice, "Do you want to come in and sit down?" Following the fine tradition of not making a profit at a low price or for nothing, Xiao Ming blushed and nodded in response, "Well, since I don't have much homework, I'll come sit down for a while." Flay said, blushing as she pulled Xiao Ming into the door. Then at the door, the agreement between the two was fulfilled, and it wasn't until both of them were gasping for breath that they reluctantly parted their lips. Then Flay lowered her head with a flushed face and said, "Do you want to stay and have dinner together before leaving? I bought a lot of extra ingredients yesterday." Xiao Ming, who almost suffocated during his second kiss, also lowered his head and blushed as he replied, Okay, then I'll help too." Then the two of them worked together to cook dinner. However, what Xiao Ming didn't expect was that Flay was quite proficient in handling those ingredients, and she only cooperated dispensably as a kitchen assistant. The key flavor is pretty good, it's definitely edible and not a type of food killer. After dinner, Xiao Ming hugged and kissed Fu Lei again until the alarm clock on his phone rang, and then reluctantly parted ways. "Sigh, well, it's getting late and we still have classes tomorrow. You should go home early to rest." Xiao Ming looked at the time and agreed to continue with the liver dungeon, saying, Okay, Flay, then you should rest early too. Shall we still finish school together tomorrow? Well, I'll be waiting for you tomorrow too. Watching Flei's adorable face turn red, Xiao Ming couldn't help but kiss her forehead again before saying goodbye and leaving her home. After returning to his own home, he immediately rolled back and forth on his bed. Ah! Women and the like, as expected, only affect my driving speed. Xiao Ming, why are you so cheap? How could you have taken a liking to a woman like Fleur? My wife is at least someone like Lakis or Mia. After a series of ideological struggles, Xiao Ming decided to go with the flow and go with the flow. Anyway, I'm not a love saint either. I'm just an emotional novice. If we can make it to that point with Fry, it's just that. Even if the group had already dispersed by then, I had already been mentally prepared. I will definitely not be like Sai Yi, that kind person who is a dead end, trying to find a way out. Of course, it would be better not to be warped by Kira. Perhaps in the future, I will also have the opportunity to drive a mobile warrior. Should I save my cheap father? In law, George Arusta, the Deputy Director of Foreign Affairs of the Atlantic Federation. Then there won't be an opportunity for Kira, this bullhead, to take advantage of. Thinking about it, Xiao Ming suddenly grabbed his own hair. Alas, I haven't even skimmed on my bazi yet. What's bothering me? I don't know if I have the body, the ability to save, or if I can't save it. Now it's better to improve your driving level first, otherwise everything will be empty. Sweat more now and bleed less during wartime. Continue liver. Let's first make the attribute liver so that it cannot be increased. Just say it and do it. Xiao Ming immediately activated the beginner training ground, activated the hell difficulty, and prepared to meet Xiaoya and Steel for 500. However, upon entering the battlefield, it was suddenly discovered that the Glass's computer had an additional function of recording and calculating the trajectory of the opponent's movements. With its assistance, the other 6 planes were quickly eliminated in advance. After looking at the last one, Xiaoya Zha Gu 2, Xiao Ming muttered with a mischievous smile, I am different now. I will definitely kick all Xiaoya Fei back. Before finishing speaking, Xiaoya Zagu 2 kicked Xiao Ming and knocked Gouda to the ground. Chapter 8. Breakthrough Seed. Level. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Sleeping Trough. Am I a villain who died from talking too much? This is too scientific, right? I want to. But this time it was still not until Xiao Ming finished speaking, but it was another heavy step from Xia Yazaga too. I'll go, it's endless, isn't it? Xiao Ming could only sway the joystick and roll sideways to dodge the stampede of Xia Yazaga too. With the assistance of Glass's computer, continuously record and calculate the opponent's movement trajectory. And he made every effort to dodge the attack of Xia Yazaga too, and also took some time to use his head-mounted cannon and beam rifle for several restrained shots. However, Xia Yazaga too is clearly more agile and often uses buildings as cover to evade attacks from head-mounted cannons and beam rifles. After more than 300 rounds of the war, the Glass's computer also figured out the rough trajectory of Xia Yazaga too, allowing Xiao Ming to turn the tide once again. So he shot it in the head and then cut off its limbs to relieve the hatred of being kicked by Xia Yafei. After venting his anger 180 or 90 times, he finally raised the 6 attributes of shooting, fighting, reaction, defense, hit, and evasion to the upper limit of 99 points in driving level D. That is to say, as long as you pass the nightmare difficulty level, all pilot attribute points can immediately become 107 points, meeting the initial standards of SEED. Level pilots. Xiao Ming turned his gaze to the difficulty level of the nightmare, hesitated for a while, and finally chose to enter the level. With the assistance of the Glass's computer, Xiao Ming dodged the dual long-range attacks of the steel cannon and the steel tank, but he still lay down under the beam saber of the RX.78.2, which was outnumbered. After several unsuccessful attempts, Xiao Ming lay on the bed with a helpless expression on his face. Ah! The difficulty of this nightmare dungeon is too high, isn't it really fun anymore? After rolling on the bed for a few moments, helpless Xiao Ming could only divert his attention by thinking about other things. After tonight, there are still 9 days left. Would you like to take the opportunity to have a Gundam? But my favorite among the 5 planes, the Thunder Gundam, is definitely out of the picture. I can't grab it, nor can I go and grab it. Otherwise, the troops of Lao Lu Cruz would not be able to break through the military fortress of Artemis in the Eurasian Federation. In that case, the subsequent plot will be chaotic. Not only do you lose all the advantages of the plot if you know it yourself, but the entire crew on the Archangel will also be in danger. Pass. It is also very difficult to capture Storm Gundam and Dual Gundam, facing ZAF.T's machine gun firepower is too strong. If I get the previous driving suit, maybe I can still fight for it. But it's not available now, so it's temporarily passed. Although taking advantage of the chaos, they may have seized the simplest 2 out of the 5 planes, the Assault Gundam and the Holy Shield Gundam. However, as the saying goes, the firepower on the opposite side is too strong to guarantee. Although Gundam World is different from other worlds, it is easy to kill the main male lead and male lead. After all, there is also a precedent of a Muro being killed as soon as he appears. However, it is possible that you may have angered some heavenly way or been targeted with all your might. It's not cost-effective to end up dead on your own. And they are all organisms directly related to future outcomes, so they are not easy to handle. It seems that we can only target the 2 complete Heretic Gundam planes, Gold and Blue. As for the red machine, it's the biological son of Wan Dai, I dare not touch it. Without it, Kira would have died. However, you can also try using the Naku space to collect the accessories for the green and purple machines, and it's not impossible to complete them yourself. If possible, that would be great. 1 body with 2 body accessories. It's a bit unfortunate that only 1 complete machine can be managed in the Naku space, otherwise it's really a bit like taking in both Gold and Blue. And these 5 Heretic Gundam were developed by the OB in collaboration with the Earth United Forces in the development of mobile warriors. After secretly stealing the body data of the Earth Alliance, as well as the technical information of the beam rifle and beam saber, he manufactured 5 prototype Gundam Astray. However, OB did not acquire their core technology. PS armor, or phase transfer armor, technology. So the armor of these heretics can only be made up of lightweight foam metal armor, with their flexible mobility to compensate for the lack of defense. But this also gives it its own advantages, with a lighter body, more flexible joint movement, and stronger maneuverability. However, before the destruction of Heliopolis, OB only completed 3 prototypes of the Heretic Gundam. That is, the P-01 Gold Frame Alien Gundam Gold Machine exclusively for the adjuster. A P-02 Red Frame Heterodox Machine exclusively designed for natural persons. And the locally used and specialized P-03 Blue Frame Heterodox Gundam Blue Machine. As for the 2 prototypes of the P-04 Green Machine and P-05 Purple Machine, they should still be just a bunch of uncolored accessories, so there shouldn't be enough time to complete the assembly. But it's still a pity without PS armor. Phase shift armor, also known as PS armor. After it is powered on and started, it can not only change the color of the body. It can also transfer, melt, evaporate, those substances from the lower phase to the higher phase when the aircraft body is impacted by substances, and absorb the thermal and electrical energy, achieving the effect of defending against physical attacks. And with the improvement of energy supply, the defense capability of PS armor can also be enhanced. Just like Genesis, who burned glass on the moon during the SEED finale, even if the Archangel and Grass Razor jointly launched the Positron City Cannon, they could not penetrate its PS armor. It also belongs to the ceiling of physical defense in the ordinary Gundam series. Of course, the GN defense field of the OO Gundam series is an exception, after all, it belongs to the existence of breaking through the ceiling. We also need to prepare some water and food, after all, if we board the Archangel, we will have to endure a period of material shortage. Although I really want to store more water inside with the faucet on, in the era of technology, it's possible that a few tons of water might be put in the front foot, and someone might come to check the water meter in the back foot. Even if you want to buy for 0 yuan and store a large amount of water, you still have to wait until the morning of the plot to go to school to get it done. When the colonial satellite bounced, there was no way to check the water meter. And if you don't fill up the storage space, it would be a serious crime. Be sure to use up your savings and buy more essential items for daily life. With this in mind, Xiao Ming began to put the water, food, and some important items stored at home into the warehouse. After completing the storage work. After thinking about life for a while, but unable to sleep, I simply sat up again from bed and continued to struggle with nightmares. However, this time I changed my mindset and came up to cover for the other two, Zagu 2, planes, using machine guns to intercept the opposing shells. For those shells that cannot be intercepted, they can only be defended with shoulder shields on the side of the fuselage. From time to time, he would grab small vehicles on the ground and smash them towards the direction of steel cannons and tanks, using them to resist the attacks of shells. Covering two Zagu 2 planes and destroying them, it once again turned into a 3-on-1 situation. However, this time it's 3 Zagu 2, against 1 Gundam RX.78.2. But the Gundam driven by Amro deserves the title of White Demon. In the face of the advance and chopping of Gundam, the 3 Zagu 2 still failed to win, only delaying their own failure time. However, with this experience, Xiao Ming persisted in playing for longer and longer time. Finally, in helplessness, he could only despicably use his teammates' 2 Zagu 2 planes as body bombs. The despicable tactics were fully utilized. While Gundam was attacking with a beam saber, he pushed his teammates, Zagu 2, up from behind to block the sword. Then he fired a strafing shot at its engine reactor position, detonating the reactor and injuring Gundam. Xiao Ming did not give up the opportunity to hit the water dog in pain, and then kicked another, Zagu 2, from behind, repeating his old trick and knocking Gundam to the ground. After venting his anger and repairing dozens of axes, he finally heard the electronic sound of clearing nightmare difficulty and received a prompt for the pilot's full attribute improvement. Xiao Ming also shed tears of excitement for this. I'll go ahead and finally pass the level. Just the nightmare difficulty, I gave away 500 to 600 heads before passing the level. And there are less than 2 hours left, I have to go to school again. Damn it, I haven't even slept all night. Is it easy for me? This dungeon level is really amazing. After complaining, Xiao Ming fell asleep and even slept for an hour. Chapter 9. Pilot Rest Room. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After being woken up by the alarm clock more than an hour later, Xiao Ming had no choice but to get up and wash up. Then, looking at the remaining time, in order to experience the difference between driving levels D and C, Xiao Ming went on to try nightmare difficulty again. This time, driving a D.Class MS by a C.Class pilot has indeed made it much easier than before to achieve a 20% increase in performance. Although we still cannot win without resorting to despicable tactics, we are already able to take a few flying kicks against Gundam. If it weren't for the hard titanium armor of the Moon God, perhaps it could have been kicked to death. This immediately made Xiao Ming feel refreshed and fulfilled. At this moment, the multiple choice question data panel popped up again. Question. If Fleur Arusta is anxious about whether or not to actively come to school with you, which of the following options would you choose? A. Choosing to take the initiative to call Fleur Arusta and arrange for her to meet up on the way to school once again has dealt a heavy blow to Kira Yamato's heart. Obtain a 10 by 10 by 10 meter space for the pilot lounge, which can be freely divided and set with internal layout, and can be freely combined with other pilot lounges or item warehouses. The host engineer lounge can store any item and allow the host to bring other life forms into it. After binding the host's lounge, the host can obtain slot 0/4 for the pilot's prop plugin B, choose to take the initiative to go to Fleur Arusta's house and take her to school together. Obtain the pilot's handgun X10, submachine gun X10, sniper gun X10, grenade X100, and ammunition magazine X100 each. C. Choose not to meet with Fleur Arusta and go to school on your own. Obtain 10 tons of drinking water and 10 tons of food each, as well as several other essential items for daily life after taking a look at the 3 options. Option B doesn't need to be looked at all. The survival ability I need is not to use this batch of weapons to snatch bodies or give away heads. If option C is chosen, it seems that the total size of those things exceeds the size of the item warehouse, so I will only reluctantly give up. Of course, it was definitely not for the pilot's lounge that A was chosen, but for the purpose of defeating Kira, a bully. So Xiao Ming decisively chose option A. Ding, selection completed. Currently selecting option A, the reward has been distributed. After obtaining the space in the pilot's lounge, Xiao Ming immediately made a phone call to arrange for Fry to go to school together. On the way to the rendezvous, I walked and used my consciousness to check the pilot's lounge. The host engineer lounge can only be bound by the host, including the bathroom, kitchen, bathroom, living room, and air. The sewage purification facilities and other facilities are complete, and it can also be divided into 3 floors and rooms over 3 meters high. For example, how many bathrooms should be placed inside and where to place them, all of which require choosing their layout and placement by oneself. Especially air, the sewage purification facilities can actually be connected to other separate restrooms for use together. I am no longer afraid of the air becoming cloudy due to staying in the space for a long time, and I have to open a few small openings to breathe. Moreover, the previously obtained item warehouse can also choose any level inside, with 6 empty walls as entrances and exits, allowing oneself to walk directly into the host engineer's lounge. However, according to the layout prompt, if other secondary lounges need to be stacked in the future, they can also be freely combined up, down, left, and right in the main lounge. After designing a door on an empty wall, multiple doors can also be used together by selecting the door number to connect with each other. It is also possible to use the warehouse space as an aisle to connect various lounges. Even the main rest can be used as a living room, connecting those secondary rest areas. But there are also drawbacks. In the future, even Xiao Ming cannot easily open the door to enter the Vice Lounge when it is bound by other people. You need to obtain the other party's consent or the door is already open before you can freely enter and exit their room. However, there are also a few things that make Xiao Ming happy, which are that even if he doesn't go in, he can check the internal situation through his own consciousness 360 degrees without blind spots. Very criminal. Very severe. There is also a back door left, which can forcibly unbind the person bound to the sub-lounge. Of course, after binding other people, the sub-lounge will also impose some rule restrictions and mild brainwashing on the binding parties. In other words, it will increase trust and loyalty. For example, if you trust the host unconditionally, you may also be unable to reveal various secrets of the host, and so on. After reading the introduction, Xiao Ming immediately started to match and placed the item warehouse on a wall on the first floor. After adjusting the internal structure of the host engineer's lounge, the first time they wanted to enter, they were also prompted whether to carry dust, bacteria, and microorganisms from their bodies. Even the clothes worn have been displayed on the item list on the data panel. Mom won't have to worry about me not taking a shower anymore in the future. After an inexplicable roast, Xiao Ming resolutely chose no, and sighed that the future disinfection work and the removal of tracking devices depended on it. In addition to being able to enter anytime and anywhere, if you come out, you can choose a random area within a 5-meter radius with no obstacles as the exit, centered around the selected entry point. Although the distance is a bit small, it is still possible to use the main and co-pilot lounges as a springboard, indirectly achieving short-range instantaneous movement. And it can be used as a long-distance teleportation by frequently entering and exiting the pilot's lounge, which is a bit troublesome. But if you encounter walls that are 5 meters thick all around, you can only rest. The most crucial thing is that the space for the host engineer's lounge is placed in the spherical space with a diameter of 1 kilometer that was before him. That means you can freely place it within this 1 kilometer space. After trying to move and place it a few times, Xiao Ming tried several more times towards the pilot's plug-in slot. It was found that except for an additional display plug-in slot 0/4 on the pilot's attribute panel, it has no effect on itself. After loading the glass's computer into the plug.in slot, the display changes back to 1/4. And after loading, the appearance display of the props can also be turned off, allowing the computer glasses to be completely hidden. Just like hiding the fashion skin in the game, it doesn't affect your use at all, let alone worry about it being worn out and damaged. But only the props provided by the system can be inserted, there is no room for drilling. However, the storage conditions in the Naku space may seem harsh, but in fact, they are very relaxed, which makes me very satisfied. Because I was trying to define the ordinary brown myopia glasses as the drivers wear, and the driver also belongs to the body parts. It was successfully thrown into the Naku space for renovation and replaced with flat lenses. This immediately made Xiao Ming feel that the Naku provided by this system was very user-friendly, reasonable, and very user-friendly. After arriving at the meeting place with Fleur, Xiao Ming gave up various attempts and went intimately to school with her. And coincidentally, he met Kira at the school gate, which once again dealt him a heavy blow, revealing an embarrassed expression of helplessness. In the following morning's class, Xiao Ming sorted out Sai Yi's interpersonal relationships. I found a relative as my guardian in Heliopolis and still working at the Dawn Society factory. But it gives people a mysterious feeling, and they are often not at home. After much contemplation, I feel like it's a real blow. Sure enough, the Aguilar family was involved in creating Gundam together with the Atlantic Federation. And it is also very likely that they helped steal some of the information of 5 Gundam planes, which gave rise to the heretical Gundam planes behind OB. Xiao Ming suddenly felt like finding an opportunity to visit relatives working in the Abu Dawn Society factory, and explore the way, so that he could easily go and get a heretic Gundam in the future. In the next few days, through various options in the system, Xiao Ming obtained 3 more advanced space driving suits than the original one, with a surface that can withstand 12,000 joules of pressure and impact. After inserting the pilot plug-in slot, the small goal of being able to physically survive in the universe for a period of time has also been achieved. And they also obtained 35 item warehouses, 2 co-pilot lounges with 3 plugins, as well as a large amount of gold and various daily necessities. Fortunately, there were many shelves and storage boxes among them, which allowed Xiao Ming to use the maximum space utilization of the item warehouse space and categorize them with his mind. Another thing is that as the host, one can not only bind the main lounge, but also bind 2 additional secondary lounges. But now only 1 more plug-in slot has been bound, so the plug-in slot has been changed to February 7th. In the future, the maximum number of plug-in slots should be 10. And others, too, can only bind up to 2 co-pilot lounges per person, which means 6 plug-in slots. The disguised proof of the host engineer's lounge is a unique building. However, those who have already been bound can combine their own lounge with the merging of others to expand the space. But the bound plug-in slots will still be the same as before and there will be no changes. Chapter 10. Plot Start 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. But man's calculations are not as good as heaven's, and the troubles of happiness come one after another. Due to the intimate relationship that has always been entangled with Fleur, I haven't found an opportunity to go to the Abu Dawn Society factory these days to find the relative who works there. And relying solely on external networks, it is impossible to invade the computers of Dawn Society through ordinary channels. Even if possible, I still dare not go into the dark with great fanfare, otherwise it will be ruined if someone finds out. And this kind of behavior is too careless, completely not in line with one's personal image. Xiao Ming couldn't help but sigh. As expected, women only affect the speed of my driving. Although the previous various options and rewards were all focused on intimate interaction with Fleur. But I still have a lot of advantages, in addition to further working relationships with each other. What should be seen should not be seen, and the work that should not be touched has also been completed. Although I really want to go further and break my previous identity as a great mage. However, before the final step, Frey had been somewhat afraid and worried, so she showed resistance. And Xiao Ming, who was not very sensible, could only let nature take its course and stop. After all, I still have many secrets, especially the existence of the system. I don't want to break that layer of relationship between the two of them and live and get tired of being together with Frey every day, losing my freedom space. Then it will really be, women will only affect the speed of my Gundam. And she hesitated a bit, not wanting to use the remaining and only available sub-lounge spot to trap her. It's all my fault for being cheap before, and I went to bind a secondary lounge. However, instead, 2 coordinate points that can be repeatedly teleported back and forth were obtained. That is to say, I entered the chief engineer's lounge from one place, but I had previously entered the co-pilot's lounge from another place. So if you go out from 2 rooms, you will reach 2 different places without any distance restrictions. This is also the most fortunate thing for Xiao Ming, so he is absolutely not afraid of others chasing and blocking him. And in the future, there will be more rest rooms for pilots, and when they enter other people's rooms, they can also follow them to the place where that person is located. It's like long-distance space teleportation, but I don't know if I can teleport across the world in the future. But the current situation is that there is only the last co-pilot lounge left. That should be reserved to see if it's possible to cut off the Hurax silk in advance. Otherwise, in case, maybe, or even when the beard is intercepted, she will be deceived and stopped, but there will be no available sub-lounge to bind her. Missing the best opportunity is truly excruciating pain. So Xiao Ming could only hold back and silently eat Huanglian, feeling an indescribable bitterness. But the willows are hidden and the flowers are bright, and the Emperor does not disappoint those who have intentions. At CE. On the day before January 25, 71, Xiao Ming finally found the opportunity to visit and play in the factory of Abu Dawn Society. And secretly, using glasses, the computer secretly hacked into the network of Dawn Society and implanted a backdoor program, allowing it to stand by and lurk in case of emergencies. Wait for ZA. When F.T's people come to snatch a Gundam, they block their own figures from the monitoring facilities, making it easier to seize a heterodox Gundam while in chaos. After completing all the preparatory work, Xiao Ming didn't forget to continue scrolling through the nightmare difficulty of several basic training levels to consolidate his driving skills. Until CE. On the noon of January 25, 1971. Xiao Ming arrived early as usual at Professor Kato's laboratory to help, and indeed found a fake boy-dressed card called Kira Yamato here. Xiao Ming deliberately put on a friendly demeanor and went up to chat up, saying, "Hello, are you new here? I'm Sai Aguilar, and I can be considered an old employee here. If you need anything, feel free to come to me." "No, thank you. I'm just here to visit, just wait for the professor to come here." Listening to Ka Jiuli deliberately lowering her voice, she looked like she was rejecting people from 1,000 miles away. Xiao Ming sighed, perhaps she didn't need to suppress her attire. Even if it's normal speaking, people wouldn't even think that Ka Jiuli is a woman. At this moment, Kaz looked at Ka Jiuli's cold expression on the side, tugged at La Sei's clothes, and reminded, "Alright Sei, let's go busy too, otherwise it will be too late when we come home from school later." "That's right, let's get ready first, complete the task early, and go home early." Speaking, Xiao Ming and Kaz walked towards the computer on the other side and started editing the code. And Xiao Ming didn't forget to open a small window, constantly following ZA live broadcasts of various combat situations of the F.T army in the Earth Alliance. It wasn't until over an hour later that I saw Z on the video A. The frontline combat situation of the F.T army attacking Kaohsiung on Earth, as well as the figures of those MS Gene bullying tanks. Xiao Ming knows it won't be long, ZA. The Special Operations Team of the Army Lao Lu Cruz is already on their secret way to Heliopolis, and there is not much time left for them. At this moment, immediately let the Glass's computer control their phone to ring. Ding ling, ling, ling. Hey, Okay, I understand. I'll come right away. After completing the pre-recorded conversation with himself, Xiao Ming apologetically said to Professor Kato, "Professor, I'm sorry. There's something urgent at home and I can't continue to help debug the data of the power armor today." "Oh, it's okay. Anyway, I won't be able to fix it for a while. I've already gone to find someone to notify Kira to come over earlier. Say, if you have anything to do, just leave first." "Okay, thank you, Professor." After obtaining Professor Kato's permission, Xiao Ming picked up his backpack and hurriedly ran out. The Earth is really chaotic, and thanks to Heliopolis being a colony satellite of a neutral country, there is no need to worry about being affected by war and living a safe and happy life. After Xiao Ming left, Kaz watched the live broadcast of the war with a helpless expression on his face, muttered to himself, and erected a very large flag. After leaving the laboratory, Xiao Ming directly found an autonomous car on the roadside. After using glasses to hack into the program, the computer drove towards the vicinity of the Aurora Society factory. I found a hidden place and hid directly in the pilot's lounge, opening a slightly imperceptible small opening as an observation hole. Next, cross your legs, drink coffee and brew tea, slowly passing the time. Prepare to wait for everyone to go to the shelter, and then teleport into the Dawn Society factory to steal Gouda when there is no one left. After patiently waiting for a period of time, I did feel a sudden explosion coming from within the colonial satellite and it began to shake slightly. On the other hand, due to a sudden explosion inside the colonial satellite, Mullah Flada also sensed the presence of his father's clone, Lao Lu Cruz. So, disregarding the busy commanders, they immediately commanded some new recruits to drive, Mebius, to attack the enemy. And he himself jumped into his special plane, Mebius 0, together they rushed out of the colonial satellite spaceport and fought against the Zaft army on the outskirts. It was precisely this action that enabled him to evade the time bomb installed by Zaft near the cosmic harbor and survive safely. And the other officials and soldiers were not so lucky, most of them died in this explosion. This huge explosion once again made the residents of Heliopolis feel a greater shock than before. Not long after, it was discovered that a large number of armored vehicles, transport vehicles, and 4 large MS transport vehicles carrying Gundam had driven out of the Earth United Forces industrial area across the head. At this moment, AZA-F.T surprise troops suddenly emerged from the exhaust pipe and hid near Xiao Ming's hiding place. It seems that's it. Captain Cruz's intelligence is correct. After using military telescopes to examine the mobile warriors exposed on 4 large transport vehicles, Isaac Cure nodded confidently. Then, Diego Elsman nodded in agreement and praised, "Just a poke, and you'll panic and crawl out of your nest, right? Those natural people are really stupid."